Okay. Hello. Full 10 seconds early. Incredible. Welcome back. I'm back to streaming. And I noticed in the run up to me starting the stream properly, Luke York YT followed, so thank you very much for the follow. I did hear the notification sound and I saw it on the Twitch page. Early stream? Yeah, I mean, early by a tiny bit, but yeah. Crazy things happening. Yesterday I felt tired and I was like, well, I can kind of justify not doing a stream today. Because I had unexpectedly had work to do on Saturday, and also was just generally really tired. There wasn't so much happening that was so pressing. I felt the need to comment on it. But today there is more stuff. There is a lot more. And I think I saw that 1v3 is here. Yeah, they are here. So later I'll be able to... oh, yeah, what up? Later I'll be able to talk about that Dutch talk show. I did watch that, and I've been sort of waiting for the opportunity to talk about it with you in chat so that you would, you know, get the more full context. But I need to talk about the namesake of the stream. Let's be real. I don't know... You guys might have seen this. It's pretty recent, but it's well, it is shocking, it is spectacular, and it justifies literally every negative thing I have to say about news media, as a set of institutions. Sorry for the long wait, then. It's okay. It's okay. I haven't had any real shortage of things to talk about on stream. So, recently. In the wake of Israel's actions getting more and more drastic, which I will talk about after this, people have been protesting more and more, and in some cases, people have been taking more and more desperate means to protest. They've been doing more and more desperate things, including a man in the U.S. Air Force. He was a soldier. He was an American soldier. Who self-immolated in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., in the U.S. Capitol. He lit himself on fire and yelled "Free Palestine" as he was dying. He went to the hospital afterwards with severe burns. They couldn't save him. He died. He died very painfully. That on its own was like, wow, okay, we're in the phase of this where we see people starting to do like things that actually hurt themselves and you know, maybe even potentially somebody else in order to protest. Granted, I think that, like, obviously you shouldn't self-immolate because that would kill you, but in an instance like this, obviously that's nowhere near as bad as the actions that you're condemning going on in the Gaza Strip here at the hands of Israel. But what was almost as crazy as the protest itself was the news media's response to it and their coverage of it. Namely, that they did not cover it, or rather what they chose not to cover about it. We have some screenshots from American news outlets. Why did he do it? There's a tweet that screen capped these headlines. 4 major news outlets have almost the exact same headline for the self-immolation of 25-year-old Aaron Bushnell. Not one of them mentions the words Gaza or genocide, the reason for Aaron's protests, or the word Palestine, his last words spoken. The newspapers went out of their way to not mention the fact that he lit himself on fire to protest against Israel and yelled "Free Palestine" as he was dying. It was basically like they took the story and they were like, "Wow, that's crazy. He just spontaneously like lit himself on fire and died. That's crazy. Why would he do this?" I guess we'll never know. And it's like, it's frustrating. It is super frustrating. Every time the issue comes up, the topic of Israel-Palestine, I'm reminded that there are lower and lower depths that you can always sink to as the United States, as American media and whatnot. And I think it does a real disservice to that guy that lit himself on fire. You know, I think the world deserves to know why he lit himself on fire. It's, you know, it's not like the news outlets don't know that. You know, it's literally he was yelling it at the top of his lungs. There was literal video of him yelling "Free Palestine" as he was burning to death. You know, I'm obviously not going to show that. But yeah. Just absolutely disturbing stuff. And you know, more evidence, if it was even necessary, that the job of news media in you know, the systems that we observe to exist now is not actually to cover the news in like any sort of straightforward or honest fashion, but rather to propagate themselves. This is a bit that I want to talk about in relation to some other stuff as well. But ultimately, institutions and systems have a necessary bias towards self-replication, which is, you know, they do what they need to recreate themselves, to survive, and all that. And news institutions are no different. There's a, you know, set of economic interests and whatever at play there, and there's also a set of geopolitical interests. Now, most news media in the United States, although we have free press, most news media in America, by product of there being like close alignment between pro-American interests and pro-business interests, most of that will be aligned pretty close together. I'd be furious in issues. Yeah, absolutely. During a protest of Ramos Calanta, a student who burned himself to oppose the regime, he was branded as mentally insane, and no reasons for his self-burning were given. Such as the same, you know, same thing here. Same thing. The news outlets actually did, you know, they did fucking say that this guy was mentally ill. In fact, they made it a point to do that. You know, this is just USSR and USA not that different, I guess. Yeah, it's almost like nation states have these core elements that are the same across all of them. And it's, you know, it's crazy to think about. There's also another tweet that I saw that screenshotted a Time article. I will not read these articles because I think that the bits that I have seen of them are disgusting on their face, and nothing that it could possibly say would really redeem them. Time wants you to know that Aaron Bushnell's self-immolation was against the rules. Crazy, I'm just hearing about this. Defense Department policy, this is from the screenshotted article. Defense Department policy states that service members on active duty should, quote, not engage in partisan political activity. Military regulations also prohibit wearing the uniform during, quote, unofficial public speeches, interviews, picket lines, marches, rallies, or any public demonstration which may imply sanction or endorsement by the Defense Department or the military service. So basically fucking disgracing this guy after his death by saying, like, yeah, the military actually says that that's against the rules, you're not one of us, or some shit like that. I hate it. I hate it here. Thanks. I hate it a lot. I feel like there was more I wanted to say about this for sure, but it's kind of like stuck in the air. I can't recall it immediately. I don't even know what there is to say about this, other than you know, this is more evidence, if ever we needed it, that the United States is prepared to sort of see this all the way through to the end, and you know, doesn't really care about doesn't care about any protests to the contrary, and honestly, you know, sort of reaffirms my claim that the United States is like just engaging in all sorts of policy failures with regards to pursuing its international interests. Like, this is not, this damages the American reputation. This is like, this helps nobody. The fucking media coverage being the way that it is around this self-immolation, like, goddamn, this just makes life worse for everybody. The way that news outlets have covered this and the kind of actions that America is willing to defend here. You know, very hot take, but like genocide and all of its associated factors are bad. You know, it's kind of wild. I see. Got him. Yeah. Okay. Wow, they're way up there. I guess now I can mention the other Israel-related thing. You know, this self-immolation, this protest, kind of matches the increase in how drastic the actions have been from Israel's side of things. You know, the drastic protests to match it, because the latest in the string of well, Israeli actions that are worth protesting against is the impending assault on Rafah. Rafah being the southernmost city in the Gaza Strip. Gaza Strip being only the size of, like, I don't know, fucking Chicago. It's not big. It's the size of one city. And even, like, within that, 2.2 million people used to live there. And now it's like, well, I don't know how many people are left, how many have died. You know, we don't have accurate numbers to that effect. It's, you know, we're doing what we can. Well, I say we, but, like, numbers are spotty is what I'm getting at. And now with over 1 million people concentrated in Rafah, Israel is preparing an assault to, well, to clear out the rest of them. And Israel's very committed to this, even saying, like, yeah, even if we do, like, a temporary ceasefire, that's only going to delay the assault on Rafah. We're going to do it anyway once this, like, any, like, humanitarian pause is done. Crazy how many people live in such a small territory. Oh yeah, it's the most densely populated strip of land on Earth, and that is because people have been compressed there. People, given the option, people do not choose to live in such a cramped area. What had happened was like, this is the result of many policy decisions and you know, the result of settler colonialism and whatnot. On the part of Israel and the allies that Israel has in the West, in the UN, etc., that have sort of enabled Israel to militarily claim all of the land that they now hold, while pushing whatever remains of Palestine more and more and more to the fringes. This reminds me of another tiny strip of land. Did you hear that Transnistria won't exist anymore soon? I did hear about that. I'll get to that maybe a bit later. You know, Gaza was already an open-air concentration camp, as was the West Bank. Now they're just, you know, they're turning on the showers, as it were. When the assault on Rafah properly begins, you know, we've seen high casualty numbers in Gaza on the order of tens of thousands, almost 30,000 at this point, which even that is a lowball estimate. Once the assault on Rafah begins, because Egypt and Israel have both been passing the buck back and forth, stalling on the effort to get aid into Gaza and like, basically denying the Palestinians any valid point of exit, point of refuge, the Palestinians have nowhere to go, and when Israeli boots get on the ground there, we're going to see the casualties multiply tenfold, if not more, in a matter of weeks. It's going to be very ugly. The part of the thing about the genocide that Israel is committing right now is that it fits mostly, like, the most recognizable portion of it is inflicting conditions of life that are unlivable for a given group, which doesn't mean that everybody dies right away. You know, that's the part that's mostly visible through, like, the bombing of buildings and homes and the like stifling of food aid and things like that. But bodies aren't hitting the floors in as big of droves as you might expect yet. You know, the assault into Rafah would be an acceleration of the genocide into the proper, just killing as many members of the group as they can see. Yeah, illness, hunger, all of that stuff, like, that's all happening, but it's a much slower and a little bit less visible killer than you know, gunfire. And truth be told, that's, like, genocide has had pretty much everybody on edge in some way or another. You know, things are going to get bad. Worse than they already were, that is to say. And, you know, the U.S., for its part, seems like it's pretty dedicated, not just to supporting Israel, in spite of, like, all the ICJ rulings and what have you, but also just in, like, the whole there is no war in Ba Sing Se type shit. Like, you know, the blatant denial that anything is even happening in the Gaza Strip. The insistence on continuing to call this a war when, like, there's only one side that actually has a military and a state capable of waging a war, and the other side has, at best, maybe a disparate militia group, or, like, two. It's bad. That's TOS there. Houthis interesting extra to say the least. I have no doubt the Houthis are taking advantage of the situation, which would not be good. Look, I think ultimately, as you know, as many associated factors as I could look at, you know, I'm sure what the Houthis are doing is not exactly condonable or anything like that. Ultimately, all of this does come back to the fault of Israel and the United States. They have all the cards in this situation, and if the genocide in Israel were not happening, or the genocide that Israel is doing in Palestine, which is within its own borders, then this guy would not have self-immolated. The Houthis would not be bombing random trade ships in the Red Sea because they wouldn't have an excuse. And there would be, well, overall, there would be less instability and less dead people. Crazy. If you don't commit a genocide, that means there are fewer dead people. You know? What are the Houthis up to? Ah. More of the same, it seems. Yeah. Well, look, the Houthis don't... The Houthis don't actually care that much about Palestine. It's all a game of, like, geopolitical interest and whatever. The Houthis are opportunistically taking advantage of the scenario right now. You know, what I mentioned there was, like, obviously they wouldn't be doing this if the genocide in Gaza were not happening, but that's just a convenient excuse. And, you know, ultimately it is still bad that they're, like, BTFOing random trade ships and stuff, like civilian vessels. And, like, military action against the Houthis specifically is justified, but ultimately we shouldn't even be in this situation in the first place, because fucking Uh, you know, the only reason that they're willing to do that, or that they have an excuse to do that, is because of the, the genocide. Should the USA bomb the Houthis harder? Fucking sure. It's gonna solve the problem just as much as it already has, which is to say it's only gonna put a temporary lid on it. It's not actually going to address anything. I think that, like, the United States shouldn't exactly be letting up or whatever. Not right now, at least, on the Houthis, but ultimately, if bombing the Houthis is all the United States can think of, then we've got our heads screwed on way wrong. You know? Because that's never, like, even for neoconservatives, they have to know that, like, you can't just keep doing that. Hell yeah, bomb them. Look, when I say bomb the Houthis, I mean something very specific, like military targets only, right? Obviously, the United States has, well, not conducted the greatest military campaigns in the past. You know, we have a much higher tolerance than most Western countries for civilian casualties, and that's pretty atrocious. You know, but of course, bombing military targets is fair game. And of course, the root problem here that needs to be solved is like with the Houthis in Yemen is like, oh, they're attacking random trade ships. Why are they doing that? Well, they say because of the genocide in Palestine. Okay, and genocide is bad anyway, so don't do that. You know, don't aid and supply a genocide in another country. And then also there is some degree of, like, the Houthis are just acting kind of insane. So you should encourage leadership that's less insane, and you should sort of normalize relations with them. A lot of this is also because the Houthis control the most land in Yemen out of any of the existing militia groups there. And the U.S. is thus far unwilling to recognize them as the government of Yemen, which they basically are. Oh, what? I don't know how that happened. Not that well. Look, the Middle East is one giant clusterfuck, and ultimately you don't have to trace very far back to make it the United States' fault, because it is the United States' fault. And so that means it's on the United States to fix it. And right now, how we fix it is saying, look, Israel, you have to stop bombing Gaza right the fuck now, or we don't give you another dime. And then you can worry about, like, properly dealing with the Houthis and whoever else, and Hezbollah and all those guys. Retaliatory strikes are kind of a good temporary deterrent, but that's all it is, ultimately. It's a temporary deterrent. It's not gonna, like, doesn't fix anything. Don't know if you guys can hear that. There's some trucks, vehicles outside my house. They're having to repair a damaged water main. One of the pipes, I think, broke in my neighborhood, so there's some people outside working on it from the local government. So that's the noise that you hear that isn't me. Epic country that we live in. About all this. I don't even know what else there is to say about Palestine at this point. I think I've already said all of it. It's all been said by different people as well. If Israel gets their way, and there's no indication that they won't, they're just going to kill everybody in Palestine. Like that's it. And in fact, you'd have to have some goddamn extraordinary evidence to prove otherwise, because all of the actions that they have taken indicate that that's, like, what they want. Not gonna lie, the more news I watch, the more it feels like the world's falling apart. I know it's extreme, but you can't ignore all the wars and protests and treats. Shall we just go back to caveman mode? No money, no climate change, no politics, no nukes, no wars. Just return to monkey. Well, that's the allure of anarcho-primitivism. It's just like, what if we just fucking didn't? Like, it didn't what? It just didn't. But yeah, I talk a little bit about that in one of the videos that's on my channel. But I think you guys were actually here for that when I was talking about like the rules-based world order and whatever. Regional conflict was a pretty consistent historical norm up until the like 20th century. Like after World War II is when regional conflict slowed down a bit. Like obviously there were still regional wars, but the part of the reason that regional wars were so notable in the 20th century is because they were way less common than they used to be. For once, there was like a clear, like world order where the country on top was committed to not letting war break out anywhere else because that, you know, that's bad for business. And when war did break out, it was usually like it involved us directly and us like the United States kind of being the world police, which is not something that's in any form ideal or even good, but it's like it's very slightly better than regional war breaking out all the time. But part of the justification for that world order was that it was like, oh, it's the rules-based world order, you know, like we're enforcing the rules, right? You're supposed to not do X, Y, and Z. But many countries have seen recently, the United States isn't actually willing to uphold those rules, you know, like international law and stuff. Because we are giving so many free passes to Israel, you know, and the U.S. has also been sort of wishy-washy on its, like, whether or not it'll defend Taiwan. I know that's part of, like, strategic ambiguity and whatever, but, like, it seems like the facade of, like, oh, you know, there are certain rules that are in place is falling away because who's gonna fucking enforce those rules? Nobody. You know? It's gonna take, more for some World War III, a lot of small changes to make some big changes in the combination. Even the babies, save any more from social media. The money suckers like Cocomelon aren't safe anymore from social media. Money suckers like Defrick Boom and Cocomelon. Yeah, okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, for World War III to break out, some truly extraordinary shit would have to happen. Because as it stands, World War III in any form necessitates the use of nuclear weapons. So that's not going to happen because that's in nobody's interest. But there are regional wars that could be in some regional power interests, you know, Venezuela and Guyana, Israel and everybody else around them, even though Israel is a nuclear country, a lot of countries around them aren't. Russia and Ukraine, since Ukraine doesn't have nukes, you know, that's going to become a lot more common. Because, you know, the alternative to, like, Team America World Police, right, which kind of kept things in check, the alternative to that, because there is an alternative, is to basically do a little bit like what China does right now. Like the troops in Taiwan don't even have internet. Yeah, that's kind of not good. The alternative to that, a better way of like holding the world together and discouraging regional conflict would actually be to do some of the things that China is doing, which is like the Belt and Road Initiative. Obviously, China's been posturing a bit with Taiwan and whatever. But with a lot of other countries where China wants to have influence, what they do is invest. They build infrastructure. You know, and it's a bit different than the old colonialist infrastructure, the likes of which France would build, right? The infrastructure there actually does have some benefit to the country in which it's built. You know, kind of like the Marshall Plan after World War II, with America building a lot of stuff in Europe. But the United States is actually like pretty unwilling to engage with other countries like that. Have some great ASML chip machines. Yeah, that's true. They are like global microchip supplier and stuff. That red shell actually saved me, I think. Okay, somehow passed a bunch of people. That person has green shells, and I dodged. Nice. That's a good banana, but it's not quite in an unavoidable spot. I got him. I may be Doomer, but I believe World War III is coming. That's you being Doomer. World War III is not coming. Regional wars are coming. World War III, however, is not. It is, though? No. All of history, all of politics progresses along the lines of material interests. The material interests of the ruling class versus the material interests of the underclasses, right? In this case, you have the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The one fucking area where both of those classes are united is that we don't all want to die. It is in neither class's interest for World War III to happen. Therefore, World War III will not happen. It is in nobody's interest for World War III to break out. Therefore, it has no reason to break out. Both sides have, both classes rather, have so much incentive to de-escalate things from reaching the point of World War III. Will regional wars happen? Yes, but a World War III would be so internecine it would actually, in many respects, it would destroy the existing property relations, and that is bad for the bourgeois. Russia's expanding in Europe, China, and the Pacific. Yeah, and that's regional war. That's not world war. You notice they're only willing to really take action on countries that aren't nuclear. Because if they go to war with a nuclear country, that's the end of days, baby. No more money for them. That's why Russia attacked Ukraine and not the Baltics. Right? If the Baltics were not part of NATO, Russia would have attacked them, because presumably they don't have nukes. If they did have nukes, Russia would not attack. Unless a country like Russia believes USA wouldn't defend its allies when a person like Trump is in charge. Even then, they would be very hesitant to attack. The US isn't the only country that has nukes. France, Britain, and I think Germany also have nuclear weapons. If those countries would defend, Russia still wouldn't attack. Because if it were like Russia versus NATO, nobody wins that. Like, yeah, Russia might, I don't know, sign the peace treaty that gets them a bunch of land, but what are they getting? Nuclear fucking wasteland? You know? That's, like I said, this whole thing, history, politics, everything operates on the rails of material class interests. And it is in nobody's class interest, materially, for World War III to happen. So it won't happen. You're dealing in, like, anti-material speculation right now. What do you you assume that that's gonna get anybody to commit in the first place? Why would they use nukes to defend another country and risk getting their own country nuked? I don't know, because one country's actually crazy enough to use those nukes. And might I add, it will never come to that. Like I said, if Russia ever gave any indication that it was actually willing to potentially use its nukes to invade Europe, you know what would happen? A million fucking intelligence agencies, including the fucking VSD, would oust Putin from power. He would be gone very quietly in the middle of the night. Nobody would ever know. And then all of a sudden, the next day it comes out that he's dead, and like new rulers in charge. They would never preemptively nuke Russia. No, of course not, because that's not the fucking world we live in. We aren't idiots. Like I said, a million different intelligence agencies behind the scenes would root out all the people that are willing to use nukes and would put people in place that don't want to nuke the world, is what I'm saying. You know, CIA, KCIA, whoever the fuck it takes. Like, SBU, like every intelligence agency that could get their hands on that project would oust whatever tyrant is willing to actually use nukes from power. The world can survive tyrants being in power. The world cannot survive there being tyrants willing to use nukes. And fortunately, right now, there are no tyrants in power that are willing to use nukes. Can we do some Rasputin shit with Putin? Just say, he's magical and we're good? Yeah. Also a 10-inch long penis? Yes, very true. Give him the cake of European peace, baby. That's true. That's so true. Yeah, dude, Rasputin was on some crazy fucking shit. Let's see. After that, only NATO nations left in Europe. That's true. He's already preparing to invade Moldova. Oh, yeah. The bit about Transnistria. I'll get to that in a second. Okay. Our only hope. Here, let's look at Transnistria annexation. Here's an article from Newsweek. Decently reputable site. Russia may annex another European country. Russian President Vladimir Putin may announce the annexation of the pro-Russian breakaway region of Transnistria, according to the Institute for the Study of War. Okay, so that's a reputable source. Get Ukraine to somehow win as fast as possible, get them into NATO, and then somehow find a way to fix the Israel-Palestine war. That actually seems to be the plan. I don't know if you guys saw, there was an announcement from the NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg that as soon as this war ends, then they're going to add Ukraine into NATO. So that there's like some sort of security assurance. Transnistria is the last Soviet region left in Europe. Yeah, it seems that way. Zelensky's thinking about surrender? Bullshit. He's actually currently talking with his new commander-in-chief about how to pursue a more offensive strategy on the front lines to push the Russians back. The Russian government has had to shift the goalposts so far from their initial objective that now taking Ukraine is not an option. They're just talking about, like, oh, what if we held on to the land that we've already taken? He says he will negotiate peace if no more aid comes. More aid is coming. That much is for sure. Well, I mean, depending on the fucking U.S. government shutdown, but yeah. Yeah, that if is a fucking huge if, right? Yeah, scroll down here. I think he said by spring. Okay. I can't believe I survived that. We begin the blueprint for peace. Yeah, I think the current model for like what's gonna go down is some version of like, as the aid sort of dries up from the U.S. especially, even though like the latest aid package has something like $60 billion, which is a lot for Ukraine. If that doesn't get passed, then what's going to happen is like Ukraine probably will make some limited land concessions, and then immediately afterwards go and join NATO, so that like Russia won't be able to attack any longer without inciting a full scale like continental war. Yeah. USA better get its politics. Oh yeah, the what's that is for America to refurbish its weapons stock? Okay. Just they better get its politics together by getting a new one, because old grandpas might get us in way more trouble. I think the thing that's like weighing down U.S. politics a lot right now is it runs way deeper than just there being two old grandpas as the like candidates for the presidency. You know, our issues run a lot deeper than that. I'm fucking dead. And so is that other guy. Concert here raised 5 million in donations for Ukraine. That's cool. You'll have to hear it. I'm gonna chain this Mega Mushroom here. No way, dude. I got bean cornered. That's actually insane. Let's see. More on the newsweek. Okay. Okay. Moldova has no de facto control over the Russian-speaking region that claimed independence after the collapse of the USSR, sparking an intervention by Moscow. And there are Russian troops currently there. Okay, so this would probably just be an acknowledgement of the de facto state of things, if anything. Be like, yeah, okay, this is basically controlled by Russia, so it may as well. The currency they use in Transnistria, what is it, the ruble or something? Oh, it's not... currency. Yeah, the Transnistrian ruble. Oh, that is weird. Oh, you know, yeah, you know what this reminds me of? There's actually there's some evidence in history that like money used to be like this in more countries, including England, by the way. Like leather tokens or cloth tokens. You know how we have like paper money? That's actually just cloth. So what they've done is they probably used, I don't know, maybe even a similar amount of cloth, maybe a little bit more, and they've just made it into this like coin or token shape instead of into like a paper bill, and that's money. Like that's the currency. In fact, there's evidence for leather tokens as far back as like right after the fall of the Roman Empire being used, because there's mention of coins, but then like we don't find any coins. So that usually means that like, oh, the coins must have been something that didn't preserve in the historical record, which means like cloth or leather, because that stuff decays. Apparently these are better for blind people. That's actually really cool. I like that. They made money woke. Transnistria has woke money. People with bad eyesight can recognize the token by shape or color. Woke! Woke money! That is really cool, though. I like that. Not woke politics, though? Yeah, I know. Look, they're a post-Soviet state that, like, still has statues of Lenin hanging around and stuff. Like, those usually don't have a very good record on progressive politics. Have you seen their flag? They are, in fact, woke. Do they have the hammer and sickle on it? Oh, no. Wow, that target shock was so specific. Oh, yeah, no, I think I know what the Transnistrian flag is. They do have the hammer and sickle on it still. That's pretty woke, I guess. Although, like, China puts hammers and sickles on a lot of stuff, and, well, we know how Chinese politics go. Look at their coat of arms. I'll take a look at it in a minute. Ow. Please don't hit me. Even more woke? Dude, I'm actually, you're gassing me up for whatever this coat of arms is. That's gonna hit them. Okay. Here, let's look at flag. Yeah, okay, this is pretty standard. Coat of arms. Yeah, hammers and sickles. That's pretty woke, I think. Builder sees a similar one, just with no hammer and sickle. Yeah, that's not surprising. Especially because, you know, if you remember a couple streams ago when we were talking about, like, the post-Soviet Eastern Bloc and all that, a lot of the Eastern European countries that, like, didn't become part of the European Union and stuff, they didn't change that much after the fall of the Soviet Union and whatever. It was just, instead of, like, the party and party members owning stuff, it was just, now they're just businessmen, and they own all the industry and whatnot. You guys know how a déjà vu actually works? Yeah, I think something... The way I experience it, at least, is sometimes I'll have a dream and I'll see something in the dream, and I, like, forget about it, because you forget dreams really frequently. And then a little while later, I will be doing something, and I will encounter the same thing that happened in a dream, and I will realize, oh shit, I did this already. Like, I saw this in a dream a little while ago. Huh, that's crazy. And then I just kind of continue on. Yeah, I think that's how déjà vu goes for a lot of people. It's just like, oh hey, I've seen this already. That's the actual, like, psychological phenomenon. Whereas there are plenty of instances where history repeats itself or rhymes in the words of I think Mark Twain, something like that, where it's like, oh hey, I've seen this one before, in a political sense. Okay, I guess I'm going this way, so I got bumped. Ow. Holy shit. Weak man. Well, that's the fascist refrain. That's not actually how it works. It's more just that there are certain phenomena in history that go in cycles. Like with the dialectic. You know, how like, obviously the class conflict right now of bourgeois versus proletariat, and proletariat is different from that of the aristocracy and the peasantry in the days of uh, feudalism. But there are many similarities between the two that you could point to, you know. And that's kind of like deja vu. Like you could analyze two political situations and find a lot of applicable parallels. But yeah, there I go, over analyzing and over explaining. Not really a dream. Your brain shuts down, which makes it not notice what happens, or like what's happening. So it uses old memories, turns them into one, and then it feels like you've experienced it before, even though it never actually did. Oh, okay. I see. So it's like your brain filling in the blanks of what happened when you were unconscious or whatever. Official annexation may lead to war with Moldova. Yeah, it could. Although the like technically Transnistria is like a breakaway region already. They're kind of, legally speaking, they're a little bit at war already. The technicalities of it are complicated, but yeah. It would be an easy war for Russia. Yeah, but I don't think Russia could really get away with that, given I think Moldova is in the EU, NATO countries, and if not NATO, then the EU. But maybe Romania. No, it is not. You're right. Okay. Yeah, potentially, which would be bad for Moldova. Is Moldova part of the EU? Set a target date of 2030 for EU accession. Okay. So pending the expansion of these memberships, it might be, but yeah. Yeah, that is kind of a rip to Moldova. There's not really anything that, well, if Russia gets bogged down in Ukraine, if Russia loses the war in Ukraine pretty decisively, which is still possible, then, like, they might not be able to do much with regards to Moldova. Ultimately, I think the plans for potentially like annexing Transnistria and then annexing Moldova are pretty contingent on, yeah, being able to do it before Moldova gets into the EU or NATO. Because if they have to do it after that, it becomes substantially more difficult, and it might not even be doable at all. You know. Ow. God damn. This is my first time playing this track on Mirror, I think, which is going to make this a lot more difficult. So they have a deadline. Yeah. Oh, dude, we got Kazi Boy, the Diddy Kong Carter. What a god. God gamer. And I am driving like shit. Somehow in 5th place, though. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, at least I don't have that thundercloud anymore. God damn it. I hate getting really bumped. Whoa, I got a no animation trick there? That's kind of crazy. And I'm somehow back in 5th place. Oh, I actually did that part right. That's cool. I got some crazy air off that. Okay. Ow. Don't know how I evaded that red shell for as long as I did, but... Get that out of there. I need an item, that's what I need. No more fancy schmancy routes. Okay. Whew. Back in it, kind of. No! For the love of... Dang it. No! Oh, come on, dude. Okay. No! Dude! Who throws red shells backwards there? Like, in fucking... They had to be in, like, 6th. What? That's off-road? Alright, I'm not talking about Russia anymore. Can't do it. You guys already know my stance, and you know what I think about it. Okay. What else was there? Ah, yes. Who... Anybody know a guy by the name of Donald Trump? In many such cases. Now, the Republican primary has been over, because, like, nobody could win other than Trump, really. And that's still the case. But some interesting developments happened that I think warrant taking a look at. The South Carolina primary has come and gone. Nikki Haley's home state, and she lost there, of course, just like she did in every other state. El Bozo. But Donald Trump won by a 60% to 40% margin. Donald Trump's the orange bad haircut dude who likes building walls. Yeah, that's the guy. You might know him from what's that reality TV show? Celebrity Apprentice, something like that. 60% to 40% thereabouts was the final vote tally between Trump and Haley, which was honestly closer than a lot of people thought it would be. Still a pretty resounding victory in the primary for Donald Trump, but there's a distinct split forming between the urban Republican voters and the more rural Republican voters. And it's also worth noting that this is just with the Republican base, right? Yeah, that's true. That is the guy from Home Alone. That's right. That's where everybody knows him from. But Trump only winning by like 60% to 40%, I think, is indicative of something that could be bad for the Republican Party in the long run, which is that, like, they consolidated too early. I've mentioned this before, where, like, people really don't like the Republican platform. Even, like, people who've been Republicans for most of their lives, not a huge fan of it. That doesn't bode well for the general election. Now, like, obviously there's still a lot of question marks of Trump versus Biden, right? In some respects, but this isn't a good sign for Trump for that one. Something I have to take a look at from work after stream, probably. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is the Republicans are losing their own base to infighting, and Trump has a very solid hold over rural Republican voters, but he has driven a big enough wedge in the party, and the Republican policies have driven a big enough wedge in their own party that they are like not willing to vote for them anymore. I've mentioned this before, how like neoconservative policymaking is really not fucking popular, and that's killing the Republican Party. And I think that'll be reflected in, if nothing else, the down ballot results of the 2024 election. And I would say that'd be good, but like obviously I have no love for the Democratic Party at a federal level either. We'll see. Yeah, because a lot of the Nikki Haley voters in the Republican primary could either stay home or vote for Joe Biden. And they might have some inclination to vote for Republicans elsewhere on the ballot. But I don't know how far that extends. You know, I think I've explained I'm an anarcho-Bidenist based. Well, yeah, kind of based. I think I've explained on a stream like a while ago that there was this neoconservative to fascist pipeline in the Republican Party, where around the time of the 80s and 90s, when neoliberalism was all the rage, Republicans realized neoliberal economic policies and neoconservatism as an ideology is very institutionalist, and it's not popular with the majority of people that we need to like go and vote for us. So they attached more and more and more reactionary politics. They brought that more to the forefront of their agenda, whereas previously it was still a feature, but not necessarily the main driver. They put it at the forefront, the reactionary politics, to be the main driver, to sort of mask their neoconservative policy positions. But you see, the thing is, America's a pretty progressive country. People don't like the reactionary politics either. And that's starting to show. And that's part of the reason why I say that like the Republican Party is cooked. That's one of the main components. They are ideologically like untenable as a party. They haven't they are a fascist party, and they want to do fascism by way of like religious fervor, but they haven't built and maintained the necessary fervor to be able to do that. I saw a MAGA Bidenist debate Dylan Burns. Well, when will he have the balls to debate an anarcho-communist / tanky Bidenist? I don't think he would debate them, because you see, Dylan Burns is actually God's strongest warrior of the proletariat. My man is a anarcho-Bidenist through and through. Don't let his liberal-seeming veneer fool you. He is a true comrade, you see. I don't know. He probably doesn't debate them because it's like, it would be more like splitting hairs than anything. It would be driving an unnecessary wedge down the left. Like, Dylan's a pretty smart guy. Ooh. What the fuck is a MAGA Bidenist? I know exactly the guy that you're talking about. And I remember seeing the Hippy Dippy debate panel. There was like a... I think it was actually like New Year's 2024 special debate panel that Vosh did with a bunch of people, including like Lecture Fan and this one guy who did actually advertise himself as a MAGA Bidenist. My man is just enthusiastically supportive of both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I do not understand it. Actually, no, I do understand it. It is Peronism, you see. Juan Perón would be proud. A true centrist. Yeah, you know what's funny is I think he's actually like closer to just a populist, if anything. Like, you could describe him as populist. I don't know what's going on in his head, but there were some things that he said that led me to believe, like, dog, he is cooking something. My man's is probably a average Huey Long appreciator, and for that we support a based king. Every man a king. Yeah, we've done it. True centrist. Actual, like, national populism or some shit. You know, it's funny, too, because I was, like... I was hearing him talk, and some of the things that he said were actually reminiscent of Juan Perón's ideas in Argentina, where, like, Perón was a fucking roller coaster of Pepe posting, right? And what he eventually settled on in the 1940s, like when he initially ascended to power in the Argentinian government, was basically like, what if I did national socialism? But when I said socialism, I actually meant it. It, like, a lot of his early policies are reflective of what academics might call a non-Marxian version of socialism, which is very bizarre. And there, you know, there's a good reason why it wasn't really replicated elsewhere, at least not for very long, is because there are certain big mistakes that he made that were kind of irreversible and sort of laid the groundwork for a lot of the downfall of Argentina in the mid to late 20th century. He didn't, like, build a civil society at the ground level enough. He was focused too much on the politics of the nation state as opposed to the municipalities within the nation state. You know, so it all fell apart very quickly. And honestly, I saw some of that. I heard some of that. Some similar ideas in that guy's rhetoric. I don't remember what his name was. But, you know, the MAGA Bidenist, my man is actually a Peronist. Like, 1-to-1 match, almost. Then again, everybody's a Peronist. Yeah. I didn't get the low trick, so kind of... No, I didn't get the mini turbo? I'm driving not great right now. Somehow still got the trick after that POW. Kind of wild. I don't know what happens on lap 3, but I know something happens to make the left path traversable without a mushroom. Yay. I'm dead. God damn it. Oh, Kazi's boy's on mock bike now? Dang. His God Gamer gene wasn't enough. He had to switch to the actual good vehicle. Specific item just to continue the track? Yeah, you okay, so the left path is slower than the right path, right? There's no reason to take it if you don't have a mushroom. There's a shortcut on the right path that you can do if you have a mushroom, but I think on lap 3 something happens to make it so that you don't need the mushroom to do the shortcut or something like that. That's what I meant by that. Yeah, not to say you can't drive over there at all. You just kind of don't have any reason to, really. Because it doesn't really get you anything. I'm probably going to start using these, or use these right here. Cassie boy, what are you doing? What is blood waffling about? Oh, I used that immediately before, the fucking, the shock. Wait, are you Cassie boy? I'm confused. No, you have the same username in game as you do in my chat. Red shell. This isn't gonna do anything. Yeah. I'd rather have like a mushroom or a mega or something, and I'm not gonna get it. Might as well just hold the red shell. Okay. I've got it so that my timer is visible there. Yeah. Okay. I'm surprised I got fourth with how I didn't drive very well lap one. Let me get rid of some of this. There we go. Now the next thing. And the next day, and the next day, and the, you know, many such cases. Anyways, did you guys know that strikes are based? They've been happening a lot in the United States. The hot labor summer never ends. I love to see it. From More Perfect Union, news that I often like to cite. 5,000 Teamsters could shut down Anheuser-Busch on March 1st. Anheuser-Busch being the company that owns a lot of different beers. What? Is Nintendo actually just one big drug company? You have Speed Boost if you chomp a mushroom, let alone Mario Wonder, making you use Wonder Seeds to change your perception of everything around you. The woke company? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Nintendo is a drug company, but they peddle drugs in the video games. You see, this is an insidious plot to corrupt the children and delude them to believing that there is fun to be had in this world, when in reality we should be indoctrinating them from an early age to understand that this world is a soulless wreck and they will never be happy. Anyways, back to the woke company, the beer, the Anheuser-Busch. Yeah, that like conservatives freaked out about because they did a brand deal with what was her name, Dylan Mulvaney. Like, hey, promote our beer. She was like, okay, sure. It's a very depressing turn. It's called black comedy. You'll get used to it. So that Anheuser-Busch owns a lot of different brewers of beer. And they're probably, I think, the biggest beer manufacturer, beer brewer in the United States. And they treat their workers like shit, as do most companies, actually. And recently, they've been getting some labor agitation happening. And let's see, I think it said 99% of the workers actually voted to authorize a strike. There were some contract negotiations going on at the end of last year with Anheuser-Busch workers, and they all agreed that, like, hey, if this company doesn't give us a good contract, like a favorable contract, by March 1st, 2024, then we will strike. You know, we'll go on strike at the beginning of March. And so that deadline is very quickly approaching. It is the 26th of February, and even though it is a leap year, there is going to be a 29th of February this year. That only leaves about 3 days. You know, if that. Now we even have segregation in comedy. What? Oh, black comedy. I get it. Yeah, the deadline is fast approaching for Anheuser-Busch to deliver the goods, as it were. You know. And you know, I obviously hope that the workers get the demands that they're looking for because well, wages are pretty shit right now. In fact, the More Perfect Union actually has a pretty like bomb-ass quote from one of the workers. I work for the king, but I get paid like a peasant. Yeah. I think that accurately expresses the frustration that people are experiencing over at Anheuser-Busch. Labor stay winning. The hot labor summer never ends. In fact, I hope it never ends. And you know, I'm all for it. I'm all for this new wave of unionization in the United States, because there is so much benefit that unions can bring workers. Like every academic study that we have available says that, like, yes, unionization is good for workers, because even the threat of going on strike is sometimes enough to get companies to raise the standard of living at least a bit. And, you know, of course, when they do actually strike, it brings companies to a standstill. Anheuser-Busch can function without 50 executives. It cannot function without 5,000 workers. And that goes for every single company. Every company in the world can function without its executives and without its management, like the upper management. It cannot function without its workers. And that is what strikes are meant to capitalize on. So, obviously, you know, in the most optimistic possible scenario, I hope they don't have to strike because hopefully they get a good contract. But most likely what's going to happen is they don't get a good contract, and they go on strike, and then eventually the company, after suffering a lot of losses, has to give in to their demands and have, like, decent standard of living. And I'll cut that segment there. I might make that a segment. ChatGPT will replace them. Yeah, you know about that. W map? Yeah, that's true. Literal W. About ChatGPT, have you guys seen that, like, ChatGPT has been having a fucking meltdown lately? It's actually really interesting. It seems like AI might actually go the way of crypto or NFTs and stuff. Which I personally would really like, because AI has been, like you said, it's been used to replace people's jobs and stuff. You know, people have gotten fired over AI. Used to be elevator controllers as a real career, but they started to strike, and now we have automated elevators. Yeah, that's true. There used to be elevator workers. You know what caused there to be automated elevators, though, is the fact that, like, is two things. First, the realization that you didn't really need an elevator operator in order to operate an elevator. Like, it was pretty easy to just push the button. You know. But then also, what happened was unionization really started to dry up in the United States. The Red Scare and all that did a lot to damage unionization in the United States. Also, I'm driving like shit way in the back. Great mask, I see. You can do it backwards. If you put a lowercase q. No. Yeah. Got 9. companies are making competitive AIs, not just ChatGPT. Yeah, and it's not just ChatGPT that went insane either. A lot of the proprietary like AI software that companies have been using have been putting out less and less reliable results. And you know why that is? It's because of, it's actually, in a weird way, it's because of dead internet theory. Dead internet theory is basically the theory that the internet died in about 2016 or 17, and most of the traffic, we actually have statistics to this effect, most of the traffic that occurs on the internet is not humans. Most of it is bots and AI algorithms and data scraping and things like that. So what happened is, when you have generative AIs, you have ChatGPT, you have OpenAI, you have Gemini, you have whatever else, they're scouring the internet for data, and they're sampling from themselves and each other. They're sampling from other AIs. And what happens is, when you get an iteration of an iteration of an iteration of an iteration, you start to get signal degradation. It's like, it's just pattern degradation. It degrades over time until it becomes nonsense. And what we're seeing right now is that AIs have sort of sampled from themselves enough. AI too powerful. It's actually the opposite. Like, the AI is only capable of doing exactly what it's been told to do. It's a computer program, and it's not all that hard to write. The instructions that AI are given are pretty straightforward. The problem is they're learning from themselves, and there's this feedback loop. And so they eventually devolve into speaking nonsense, and in some cases literally saying shit like, "I'm inside your walls." Like, without understanding what they're meaning, because they are interacting with people, right? They're sampling from them, and then they're sort of like, they're using that to generate responses, and then they're taking those generative responses and making more generative responses out of that. It's not a tenable model, not in an internet so populated with other AIs. Like, AI cannot withstand its own existence. So, I thought that was actually really interesting, and actually in one sense kind of reassuring, because it meant that, like, no, everything isn't going to become just an AI algorithm, because they literally couldn't if they wanted to. In fact, there are some companies now saying, like, "Hey, haha, we need you back because we're getting some trouble with the AI." Although, of course, I agree. When ChatGPT tells you, "I am inside your walls," that is, in fact, based. And I love that. It also doesn't help that the kind of people that tend to seek out the interaction with the AI are, like, the worst kinds of people, far-right ghouls and stuff. To such an extent that, like, AIs started to say Nazi shit, and like, some of the companies that were responsible for those AI, Microsoft and whoever else, kind of looked at that and they were like, we don't really want to be associated with this project. We want to, like, hit the brakes on this a little bit, guys. Yeah, I don't think this is good for business. So, it would certainly be nice if AI wasn't as glaring of a concern anymore. You know. Oh, I thought that was the last lap. I was totally wrong. Okay. Oh, they have two more. I see. Ow. Huh. No, one mushroom isn't enough for that. Dang it. Fourth place it is. Not bad. I think it was very silly of me to be so distracted from the race that I didn't realize that when going into lap 3 was not me finishing the race. Mistake I used to be like, how how did like experienced racers even make that mistake? You know, when I was watching TWD 98 back in the day. And then here I am making that exact same mistake. So now I know exactly how it happens. Oh yeah, the talk show. Now that there's a bit of air, I've talked about all the other stuff that I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about the Dutch talk show that 1v3 recommended that I watch. It was about don't do that. That's copyright as fuck. I didn't watch it on stream because copyright. Otherwise, I would have actually reacted to it on stream. But it was about Joe Biden being old as fuck and some other associated stuff. And of course, for the first part of it, I mostly agreed with the points the guy was making. You know, the auto translate captions. You know, they got the point across, but you know, there's only so much they can do. Some stuff, especially in a context of comedy. Hello, Colton Low. Welcome back to chat. Gets lost in translation, even with languages as similar as Dutch and English. And I burned out. But you know, I think, you know, obviously, I think the rest of the world is more or less right to be concerned that Joe Biden is so old. Obviously, they mentioned the whole, like, Joe Biden mixing up François Mitterrand as the president of France, the guy who died in 1996. And all sorts of other associated incidents. It's been a little while. I've forgotten some of the particulars. Dutch is just weird German. Yeah, that's true. It's like halfway between German and English. Because I can understand, like, I can catch about a quarter to a half of what they're saying, and I speak English. No, I didn't mean to use two of those. Dang. And then the other stuff that he was talking about, the other stuff that this Dutch comedian or talk show host was talking about, I think a lot of it revolved around NATO and I think the farmer protests, something like that. They definitely mentioned NATO and the regional wars going on in Ukraine, and I think also the, like, well, I don't know if they mentioned the situation in Palestine. For what it was, though, for the, like, Dutch talk show being what it was, I thought it was pretty good. You know, not 100% congruous with like what I believe, but that's a product of there being sort of limits on what you can express on mainstream television and get away with feasibly. He's a good president if you protect him from stairs. Yeah, you know what's funny is that until the signs of weakness really started to show, like the dementia and all that, and before October 7th, I was prepared to say, you know what, I will actually, not only will I vote for Biden, but I actually kind of approve of some of the stuff that he's been doing, because of how he had approached the issue of unionization and the increasing prevalence of workers' unions and whatnot, right? It's just there were a couple things even before that were holding him back. The student loan debt forgiveness, that one's basically unconscionable. And then of course his response to October 7th is also unconscionable. That, you know, we're in a position of this much power and exercising them in favor of the aggressor and whatnot. The unionization stuff is good. Student loan debt forgiveness is, well, he should just do that. because I think I talked about this a little bit last stream. In order to cancel an amount of debt, you don't actually have to have that much money. You just need to be able to purchase the debt on its face value. Like, the governor of Illinois canceled a bunch of medical debt. He canceled $1 billion of medical debt with only $10 million. So he was able to cancel 100 times the like amount of debt as the money he actually had, because it's like some shit about speculative investing. You can like buy somebody's debt for like less than its face value or something like that. You know, it would not be that hard. Yeah. He's bagging. Okay, that's pretty smart. What's up? Oh, sadly, he's not good at not building mansions at national parks. Yeah, right wing presidents tend to be like that. It's a very unfortunate turn of events you see. Mushroom. Ah. Come on, dude. Spoil my box. Okay. I don't know if I want to bank on getting something better than a single mushroom in 5th, so I'm not gonna. Yes! Perfect execution of that shortcut. I remember, I think that shortcut was a glitch, but then they kept it in later iterations of the track just because it was, I don't know, people enjoyed it, I guess. You know what, actually, now that I have the opportunity, I should look through just various screen grabs of that, talk show. See what all they talked about. Okay. There was, oh, yeah. Okay. That was a bit as well. Talking about, NATO. And then some satire of the military-industrial complex, which I think everybody can appreciate. Very nice. So, let's see. What did I want to touch on first, right? Joe Biden is old. Okay, so the talk show host also talked about how, like, a lot of politicians in American politics are fucking ancient. And there is a reason for that. You know, like, it's a very commonly memed upon thing by people who are critical of the government, and a very commonly denied thing by people who are liberals and who defend the institutions on principle. A disproportionate number of people in Congress are fucking old. This is known. Same thing with the presidency, with a lot of political appointments and judges and whatever. Most of these people are ancient. The reason for that is because, like, a liberal government is there, like, a nation-state government is slated towards the interests of the wealthy, and so the, like, wealthy, you know, political groups and businesses and whatever will try to lobby to like get favorable picks for them, put into government or on the ballot and whatever. And a lot of times the young blood that would otherwise be in politics gets filtered out, gets suppressed out, because they tend to be more critical of the system and less willing to simply engage with it on its face value rather than trying to change things for the better. Basically, old people are more likely to be centrists, more likely to be conservative, and more likely to be wealthy and to defend the interests of the wealthy. So a lot of wealthy people who want to defend their own interests through the artificial government try to get people like them, other wealthy people who tend to be older, into government. And that is why there's so many older people in government. Take a look at Nancy Pelosi. She was one of the biggest donors for the Democratic Party, and that's what actually got her position of power that she now kind of has within the Democratic Party, even though she's not the House Speaker anymore. Same thing with Mitch McConnell and the Republicans. He's very old, he's very wealthy, he has a lot of insider knowledge, and he is very friendly to businesses, had a lot of connections with the Koch brothers, the Koch Foundation. And that is why he has been such an enduring fixture in American government as well. I'm not familiar with the particulars of every single politician, but for most politicians that are old, you'll find something like that. A sort of willingness to uphold the status quo of certain business interests being one of the key reasons for them being in politics for so long. And an exception, of course, being Bernie Sanders, who's actually just a god gamer at the game of politics. He is very much, Bernie Sanders is the exception that proves the rule to this. Consistently, early in his political career, businesses really didn't like Bernie Sanders all that much, but they were kind of ineffectual to stop him because he had a weapon that most of the other politicians that are now ancient and sitting in office don't have. An intricate critical knowledge of the system that he's engaging with, and populism. Those two things are capable of surmounting those barriers, but otherwise, you get the result that that this guy astutely pointed out on his talk show in the Netherlands, that there are people so fucking old in Congress and in government that they are visibly dying in front of us. Back in Roots government, 33% of our government, 3.33 of our percent of our government wanted that. We called that populism, aka grandpaism. Yeah, we have a word for that too in America. It's called gerontocracy. Ger meaning old person, ruled by old people. Obviously it's not true gerontocracy, but things tend to sort out that way. I would actually compare it. A lot of people are familiar with the Habsburg meme. It is actually analogous to how political power circulated in the Habsburg family in medieval Europe. The system of familial power and noble estates and noble families being the unit of power back then meant that the family name was what power skewed with, whereas nowadays age is what power skews with in some respects. That's why so many wealthy, noble elites in Europe were fucking inbred wackos, is because that was very effective at maintaining political power. And, maintaining their class interests. If that ends up being a segment, cut it somewhere in there. Yeah. Oh, the first three has to do with the fact that Mark Root was our leader 4 times in a row. Oh, okay. So on Mark Root's third administration, 33% of the government wanted a age limits or the age requirement to be able to be part of government. We call it gerontocracia, which is completely unique and definitely not stolen from English. Well, we stole it from Greek, so, you know, just like we stole the words democracy, autocracy, monarchy, autarky, all that stuff. We steal a lot of words from Greek, and there's a lot of words in many languages that come from Greek or one of those languages, you know. Imagine not using grandpalism. That's actually way funnier. It's the ideology of grandpa is the president now. Very true. Many such cases. I think that would actually be the German root. Grandpalism's probably the Germanic root word for that. And then geron something, gerontocracy is probably the Greek root word. Oh, I'm dead. Seniorismas from now on. And that is the Latin root word. Sen is the Latin root for us, like, old person. Same root for the word Senate and senior, you know? As the one Lithuania, I decided to change the word. Ah, very true. All of languages like that, of course. They're like borrowing words and using words from other languages. That's how all language has been for basically all time. You know? Senas is old in Lithuanian. Okay, yeah. Makes sense. Anyways, that was just one bit in the talk show. There's more bits that this guy did. Let's see, there's a bunch of people who were old. Yes, he then, this talk show host, Arjen Lubach. Arjen Lubach. His last name's Lubach, I know that much. Did a segment about people who, go to... Why is it different in Latvian then? What the fuck? Different languages borrow different things, even languages that are very close to each other. The next bit that he did was about people going to America to film like documentaries. What is it like in America? European in America, and all that shit, right? Europeans fucking love America and love Americans. They just don't like being in close proximity. Nobody likes to admit that they like America, but everybody likes America for something or another. People probably don't like the geopolitical unit of America, but it is always fun to see movies about America and stuff. Weirder in Six-Toed? I see. And, he's like, wow, that's such an original idea. It's never been done before. And then he shows like a million documentaries about people going to America and filming themselves there and whatnot. Like, this is what life is like in America. I imagine some very common themes and motifs come up there. For example, the like horrendous infrastructure and how like fucking you need a car for literally any and everything. Which is a load of shit. Like, I hate it a lot. But also, I have a feeling that another common through line is like, oh wow, Americans are actually super nice, and they're very personable. That's one thing that I am very glad to be an American for, is that you learn to just be, like, I don't know, you learn to have some sort of camaraderie with people. Which is good, I think. Because, in America, everything is built for fucking antisocial norms, so you need to take the opportunities to be social where you can get them, right? At least that's how I kind of see that. All Latvians have 6 toes. I take it back, don't ban me. You don't need to take that back. It is funny. Hey man, look, you can read the Twitch chat policy that I have. Saying that Latvians have 6 toes is not one of the bannable offenses, so you're good. Get rid of these. Whoa, okay. I avoided that green shell, but I didn't get an item. And from Twitch ones saying Latvians have 6 toes on the heads of horses. Wait, but that's true. Why would they ban you for that? Also, nobody tell Vosh. Horse mentioned. Vosh moment. There's some places in Africa where people have 6 fingers. I mean, there's some people that have 6 fingers or 6 toes. It's like, it's a very uncommon occurrence, but it is a thing. Like there's some people that have like a cleft chin. They also love ice cream. True. Who among us does not love ice cream? True comrades to that effect. Yeah. The one thing I wanted to say about like when people go and like film documentaries in America and all that is that one of the biggest cultural exports of America is American culture, right? Like America being the global hegemon means it exports a lot of cultural tropes and like political things and whatever. This is, you know, unironically the same reason that fascists everywhere adopt American political language is the same reason that people everywhere will watch documentaries about European goes to America. It's because America is the most powerful country in the world, has a lot of agenda-setting power, both politically and culturally, and so people are fascinated with American culture. Because there's sort of it's a very human tendency to be fascinated with the way that other people live. And when so much attention is on one country, America being the most powerful country in the world, people are like, oh, what's it like to live in America? That's a very popular concept. My friend doesn't. Send him to the Latvian re-education camp. No, not the re-education camp. You get to have delicious ice cream and chocolate syrup every day. Unless you're lactose intolerant, in which case that is okay. They have made ice cream specially for you. They have, I believe there actually is a way to make ice cream without lactose. Like you can make ice cream with soy milk and stuff. Genuinely very cool achievement of like food technology that we can make delicious ice cream dessert for people who could not ordinarily have ice cream. Truly, what a world that we live in, you know. Probably gonna start using this golden on the turn here. It's probably a good place to use it. Never mind. I mean, it was a good place to use it. I just got green shelled, which is unfortunate. They eat everything lactose. Lactose intolerant people are demons who deliberately eat the most ice cream possible. Hey, hold on. I'm a little bit lactose intolerant, and I still eat ice cream. Fuck it. It's like a challenge for them? Okay, that part is true. Also, being a demon, that's kind of hot. You ever seen, like, comics about, like, demons and stuff? Or demons portrayed in, like, anime or cartoons or whatever? People who draw those, like, what if we just made it the hottest fucking demon that you could possibly think of, right? Whoever, like, the point I'm trying to get at is that being a demon is based, actually, because the people who draw demons in media are down bad for demons. And therefore, I am also down bad for demons. The dad from Has Been Hotel? True. Isn't like ice cream, drop sauce, potatoes, chocolate, cheese, cucumber, carrots, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, stock. I don't know what that is. Sounds like a picky eater. Which I kind of am as well, I will admit, but I like to think that I'm a picky eater for different reasons. Sounds like my cat. I'm actually doing okay. I think lap 1, I'm still a little bit kicking myself over the fact that I got hit by that green shell. That was unfortunate. I probably shouldn't have thrown that backwards in retrospect, but it's fine. Hopefully nobody gets too mad at me for that. I got 4th, somehow. Brought her a box of cat food from the Netherlands. She didn't have a bite of it, so we had to feed it to strays. When can I send him to the re-education camp? Is there any ways to let them want to like more than just ice cream? Ah. Now you're speaking my language. We'll have to contact the Latvian intelligence to get some details on the different programs that they have at the re-education camp. You see, you know, we'll see what we can do. And only got a little bit of time left in stream. I want to one more thing about this. Oh yeah, it was about NATO that this talk show mentioned. Of course, he shows Lubach shows the map of like countries where like who are meeting or not meeting the funding targets for their militaries for the NATO standards. And of course, all the countries that are meeting their standards are much closer to Russia than the countries that aren't meeting their you know, standards. At least for the most part, you know, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, the UK, oddly enough, and Greece are all like meeting their NATO targets. Sweden is finally accepted by Hungary to join NATO. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that Sweden would finally be able to join NATO as well, which is good, I guess. It's always nice to have more members of a defensive alliance. It makes that alliance stronger, you know. I think he made some comment about like, oh no, Lubach made a comment about like the you know, the countries that are willing to spend versus the countries that aren't, and I think the point he was trying to make is that like, guys, Putin is bad. We need to all be willing to form up our military alliance to have some form of deterrence, like, ready if needed, you know? You know, I think the Netherlands was one of the countries that isn't yet meeting that target, but is prepared to at some point later. If I remember right, the way that they were planning to meet the like NATO spending targets was like to cut funding or something, which is not good. To like cut spending for social safety programs. You can just, as a developed country, as a wealthy country, you can afford to just run up a deficit for something because there are things that you could invest in that pay for themselves, right? Like, you know, there are wealthy Dutch businesses, whatever. Like, especially neoliberalism having done what it's done to the public sector. If you reinvest in the public sector, you will see dividends over time. You'll see, like, your work's going to pay off. We're 5th place in terms of like proportional NATO military spending. That doesn't surprise me. And also, good job, Lithuania. Like, in terms of the percentage of your budget that you contribute. Right? New head buddy just changed mind on spending more on our military. In that, like, they will do it or they won't do it. Because if they will do it, I think that's good. Because, you know, we've seen the Poland is going insane, though. Yeah, they are a little bit. Less so now, since they have they have a liberal government and not a far-right government, but, you know, things still aren't great over there. 3.9. Oh, no, you meant that. Okay, yeah. No, yeah, Poland spends a lot on its military. There's been a lot of jingoism in Poland. For +1, let's go. For both Russia-related and non-Russia-related reasons. Yeah. 3.9% is crazy. I think the US spends like 3 or 4% of our GDP on the military. Something like that. Wait, the US GDP is like 24 trillion. We spend about 8 to 900 billion. So that's about 3%. Poland spends less percent than the United States? No way. I meant more. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, so the Poland spends a larger percentage of its budget on NATO than most other countries. Yeah. But then, of course, he critiques he has the ethicist, the pretend ethicist on to, like, talk about this from the perspective of the military-industrial complex, like the contractors or whatever. It's like, oh, you see, we have to cut spending from the arts and like other programs in order to fund our military, which is not something that you ever have to do. Actually, you cannot do that. USA only 3.49. Yeah, that's true. Poland stay winning? Question mark. I mean, the U.S. spends so much in dollar amount that in practice it actually like pulls the weight of various other countries in Europe. The U.S. has such a fucking massive economy. U.S. spent 778 billion in 2022 on its military. Yeah, and that's just in 2022. It's been spending more recently. Like every single year, the U.S. military budget has not only increased, but increased like beyond the rate of inflation as well. So like there's a percent increase that the U.S. would be able to make that would just keep up with inflation. The U.S. goes beyond just keeping up with inflation on its military spending. It spends a lot. He needs to give all that money to Lithuania and apologize for rightful Lithuanian clay. That's so true. I barely used that star in time. Ow. Saw nothing. The best item! You saw everything. 5th is not a great place right now. In before Thunderclap? No. Okay, red shell. Okay. Don't hit me. How about your healthcare some more, for example, or funding the gun problems, giving teachers guns? Yeah, I have some thoughts, actually, on both of those things. With regards to healthcare, the U.S., actually, as crazy as it sounds, the U.S. doesn't need to spend more on healthcare. The current healthcare system, right, is all, like, private insurance crap. And the problem with that is that it's expensive as balls, right? Like, private insurance, the current model, it's, you know, some budget analysis had indicated that the current model of medical insurance in the United States costs about $350 billion a year. That's about what the United States spends in just in the budget and subsidies and other things on healthcare, right? But we have less good outcomes than everybody else in Europe because our system is entirely privatized. I watch a Kraut video, so I know that free healthcare would never work in the US. And that Kraut video is a load of shit because free healthcare absolutely would work in the United States. We already have the model for it. Medicare and Medicaid were really good models for the limited aspect of free healthcare that existed in the United States. If the United States adopted a single payer model based on, I don't know, Medicaid or something, and reminiscent of certain social democracies in Europe, where you could just your tax money funded the hospitals and all that, and the government took care of all the expenses behind the scenes, we would be spending less money per year. Instead of $350 billion per year, we'd be spending about $330 billion a year on medicine. If we did nothing except change the model by which we administer care to a single payer one. He's Austrian, has a cool accent, so I know who is right. Yeah, that's very true. Forgot to consider that Austrians are always right. Don't look into the implications of that statement, by the way. Yeah. Anybody who says that XYZ policy is unworkable just as a concept in the United States, I don't think is being very serious about the topic. The U.S. could absolutely do free healthcare because we did. There was a time where healthcare was maybe not entirely free, but much less expensive and administered publicly. In fact, my parents were alive for this. You are the top racist, though. That's true. I am the best racist. Lithuania's #1 racist. As recently as the 1970s and 80s, there were still public hospitals where you could go in and have care administered to you for problems that you might have had, and it wouldn't cost you very much. $20. Not that much even in the 70s or 80s. Especially for major medical procedures. But because of neoliberalism, because of the privatization, because of capitalist realism, we have not only gutted the public health sector to the extent that it no longer exists, we've now convinced ourselves that nothing else is possible. Good things are not possible. You will live in the pod, you will eat the bugs, you will pay $35,000 hospital bills for having a child, etc., etc. I'm waffling. I'm gonna go find somebody to raid. Stream is done for today. Let's see who's live. Lumiru is live. That's right. I saw this morning. Just don't do it like the UK and you'll be fine. Yeah, that's true. The UK, funnily enough, has been following in America's footsteps, which is what you don't want to do. /raid Lumiru. Under other circumstances, the NHS, the National Health Service, is actually not a bad model by which to administer care. Certainly better than what we do. But yeah, I've been having a rough go of it. I might be back on Wednesday. I might not. Who knows? See ya.